I think that Bitcoin is digital property, and I view it as being as important as electricity or steel. We take crypto steel. Bitcoin is crypto steel. There's a point at which everybody realized that steel was going to change civil engineering and the civilization. Without steel, there would be no New York City. There would be no building more than a few stories tall. So it's an elemental material that fundamentally changed the civilization. Now, I don't know how long it took to introduce the concept of steel or electricity to the society, but presumably it took about 30 or 40 years before most people understood it. If you went to a politician in the year 1900 and you said, "We invented electricity, we think it's going to be a benefit to your city," would they have welcomed that, or would they have been worried it was going to burn the city down? And if you went to a bakery or a restaurant or a ship builder or any business person, or you went to a minister and you said, "I have this electricity thing," what would they think? If you went to a journalist, what would they think? It takes 1,000 hours to really understand this well. It takes 100 hours to understand it not well. And in 10 hours, you get confused a little bit. And after 10,000 hours, maybe you master it. So, if you think about Bitcoin like that, digital property, crypto steel to build this 21st century cyber economy, okay, that kind of blows people's minds. Now we're living in year 2 of institutional adoption of Bitcoin. As I was saying, a year ago, you couldn't find a single public company with $1 million or $2 million of Bitcoin on their balance sheet. So in the past 12 months, CFOs and CEOs and journalists and politicians and senators and mayors and governors and presidents are all being asked to have an opinion on Bitcoin. And it's like showing up a year after inventing steel and saying, "I have this new thing. Yeah, but by the way, steel ships are so much better than every other ship. They obsolesced all other ships. And steel buildings are so much better. They obsolesced everything we knew about architecture for 1,000 years. They had to throw it all away. It was literally a paradigm shift. So if I invent crypto steel, and it's going to be a paradigm shift in the way that you construct banks in cyberspace. In fact, it becomes a paradigm shift in the way 100 million businesses create everything. 8 billion people are going to deal with each other billions of times an hour through 100 million businesses differently. How many people understand? And the answer is 99% of the politicians and the media and businesses and institutional investors, they don't understand. It's new to them. So we created the Bitcoin Mining Council in order to educate and advocate. When people say, what is this thing? Why do you use energy to create it? What are the consequences of it? Why do you need to do it that way? For example, we use a lot of energy to create steel. And a lot of people died in steel refineries. They actually blow up. And when they blow up, they blast everything for half a mile in every direction. It's a scary thing. You can imagine that when people started messing with it, lots of people had questions and they had to figure out, do you really need to do it that way? Do you really, with aluminum takes a lot of energy. If you don't use aluminum in an airplane, the airplane won't fly. So the question is, do you really need to use that energy to create aluminum? And the answer is, yeah. But how do you explain to someone who's never seen an airplane fly that they need aluminum? I don't need aluminum for my ox cart and horse and carriage, and we didn't use aluminum to cross the ocean on the Mayflower. So why do you need to burn all this electricity to create aluminum? But because we want to fly to Tokyo. Well, first of all, what is fly and what is Tokyo? Yeah, nobody ever flew anywhere before they invented the thing. The Bitcoin Mining Council is an education organization, And I think that the Bitcoin miners, they found they're just getting asked these questions over and over again. Every mayor, every governor, every congressman, every senator, every regulator, every journalist is going to say, well, why do you do it that way? And why do we need it? And the right answer is to be articulate and say, we do it that way because that's the most efficient way to do it. And the reason you need it is because it's going to make the world work 1,000,000 times better. Oh, how is it going to make the world work 1,000,000 times better? Oh, well, we'll be able to create software that'll run for 1,000 years without running down in cyberspace. Really? Like that sounds as fanciful and magical as I'm going to create a plane, a tube, and you're going to get in it in New York City and you're going to fly to Tokyo and get out and you'll still be alive. Sounds like magic. It is magic. It's magic to someone that used ox carts and didn't hear about aluminum and doesn't understand jet propulsion. But the Bitcoin Mining Council is creating materials and going through a methodic method to create education so that when people ask the question, is Bitcoin mining good for the environment? Should we do it? Is it the most efficient way to do it? We have an answer. And if we didn't form the Bitcoin Mining Council, then you would have 100 different little mining companies, or 1,000 probably, and 1,000 Bitcoin investors. And those 2,000 organizations would all have to do the same thing. They would have to do their own survey, do their own analysis, and then answer those questions. But answering the question 2,000 times when you could answer it once is obviously inefficient. It doesn't scale. And at the end of the day, if the Senate has a hearing, and if they want to find out whether Bitcoin mining is a good idea and whether it's a necessary idea and whether it's good for the environment, we need to have some kind of organization or someone that can speak for Bitcoin that can say, it is a good idea, it is good for the environment, and it is the best way to do it. And if we didn't have the Bitcoin Mining Council to speak for Bitcoin miners, then there'd be the question of which of the 1,000 Bitcoin miners would go speak. And if you had the one that went to speak, then the person in the Senate would say, well, that's very well. You said you were very articulate, but do you speak for all the other Bitcoin miners? And there's 999 others. So I guess I'm going to have to wait until I hear from all of them before I believe what you just said. And of course, on the other side, you would have someone that disagrees with Bitcoin, that views Bitcoin as being a threat, a competitor to Bitcoin. They would show up very organized and say, well, we're speaking for all of the banks in the world. We think Bitcoin is unnecessary. Or we're speaking for this altcoin. We think that Bitcoin is unnecessary. They're organized and they would advocate their interest. So I think that it's very important that you educate and advocate your interest, especially when you're in a novel new technology that you have invented. And that's what Bitcoin is. It's crypto steel for the 21st century. And 99% of the people are going to say, what is crypto steel? Why do I need crypto steel? And why are you using energy to create crypto steel? I heard from someone that manufactures normal steel that you're unnecessary and they want all your money. Who should I believe?